Hello there, welcome to the O7 Academy, where your interest in computer is our goal. So in today's video, we'll be looking at the psuedo class and psuedo elements. So we'll come to our editor and we'll go to our folder, exit selection mode, our folder which is the O7 Academy, and we'll create a new file. I'll call this file test.html, and I'll create another file test.css. So now in our test.html, you just come over here and right above our closing head tag, and we'll link it, and we'll just link it to our CSS since they're in same folder test.css. So in this video, we're going to be learning about the psuedo class and psuedo elements. So in our body, what we'll just be doing in here is that we'll be creating an h1 element, and this h1 element we'll call it the O7 Academy. That's the content in it. So this is what just we'll be doing, and we'll come to our test.css. Now our test.css, like I've said always, remove your padding, your margin, and your border box. Okay, all that being done, and create a CSS property for our h1. And in our h1, we'll be creating a pseudo element. So to actually apply pseudo element in h1, we're just going to come here and put h1, and because we're going to be working with the before and after, I'm going to put a double column and a before. Sorry, remove the spacing so that it will be applied. And in here, closing that, and in here we are going to be applying. First thing you are going to be doing here is that you are going to be putting a content. The content is very important while applying the pseudo element. So we're going to put in a content, and the content is, let me put this space, and we're going to close it. Now this content is actually an important part, whether you're going to be using it or you're not going to be using it. But the most important part is that when using this, it has to be there. Now we're going to come over here to see what we have in our preview. Now we have this in our preview, that is the content coming before our original h1 element. So that is what the before does. And if we are going to be adding an after just does opposite of the before. Like it takes the content after, our original, takes it after our h1 element original content. So here we won't be using the content because there are various ways to actually use this based on what you have in mind to do. Or here we are going to be putting a width, and height of about 10 pixels, a width of about 200 pixels. So that's all. I will come over to our preview, and our preview you can see that nothing is being applied to our h1 element. So why is this? Is that when actually using this pseudo element, is that we actually have to, when we don't have the content in it, we actually have to place a display and a position. So in our position, we're actually putting a position of absolute and we're going to put in a display of flex. That is going to get to the end of flex. You can use any display of your choice. Display of flex. Now, when we do this, is that we're going to actually see what we have. So we have something like this. Now, the reason why you can't see it because we didn't apply a color, a background color to it. So I'll just come here and I'll apply a background color so you all can see what we are doing here. Background color or background. I'll just put blue. Blue. When we come to our preview, now we have something like this being displayed out for us. So you can use it whichever way you want. You can use it before also. You just come and put before moving the space so it will be applied. Now preview we have something like this. Okay, wonderful. Now if I come and put an after here, now I have something like this. Well, the width is actually working according to the width we gave it to. So now if we were supposed to remove this width here, remove the entire width from here. Sorry, must have made a mistake somewhere here. And height of 10 pixels. Yes, background blue. We can come to having our all these things correctly. We can come here and we add the width here so we can cover properly. And we add the width of max width affecting both the H1 element, original element, and the H1 pseudo element. I'm just going to put max width. And when we come to the test, okay, we're still having problem with that. Okay, the reason for having the visibility that we hadn't seen the H1 pseudo element was because we actually have a position of absolute. So when we have a position of absolute, we actually have to give it a width, hand, and height. But I'll be changing here to relative. So when changing here to relative, we'll come here, and in our preview, we're going to be having something like this fitted. So that's how it works. And we're going to have something like, sorry, here is not max width, it's mass content, not max width. So mass content, so that the pseudo element and the H1 element will fit together and have the same width. And in our preview we have something like this. So moving on to one of the interesting part of this pseudo element, we have to the classes. We are already done with the element. We have a before and an after. For instance, I'm using a button. It's mostly used in buttons. I'll come over here and I'll create a button. And in the button I'll give it inner text of click me. And within the button opening, I'll place a class here. Or since we just have one, we can just use, okay, I'll place a class of btn, and I'll test the CSS. I'll come and put .btn, and I'll set all my properties I want to set, and I'm going to give it a width of about 80%. First of all, position relative,
and I'm going to give a display of flex, and I'm going to give it a text font size of about 30 pixels, and I'm going to give it a padding that is from within. Margin is from without and padding is from within of about 8 pixels, and the color white, and the background blue. I'm going to give it a border radius of about 10 pixels. Okay, now we're going to see what we have in our test.html. I have something like this, click me. But we have that actually none of our none of um none of our styles actually applied. So we'll come here and we'll see that we have a problem here, that we're not actually supposed to. I have a problem here of our class. Class is not being applied. I'm going to put that well again, class. And when we come to our preview, so we have something basically like this. So to remove this gray line, we're just going to come to our btn class. I'm going to put an outline of none. No. And okay, get that was not an outline, that was a border of none. Okay, we've removed the border of none. Now we'll be using one of these psuedo classes we have is the hover. Now in the hover is we use .btn and put it hover. Now what does hover mean? Hover mean that whenever, making some mistakes here, okay, whenever you hover over it with a mouse or you just tap over it on your screen, it's going to, whatever text, whatever style you apply to it from your CSS will be applied when you hover around the button or the element you're actually applying to. Now when we do that, I want to change the color to blue, and I want to change the background to white. And when I do so, I also want to give it a border of 1 pixel solid gray. And as you can see in our preview, well, we have the normal button, but when we hover on it, now you can see we have something like this. So when we hover on it, we are going to see that our effect will be applied when we hover on it, and if we hover on something else, it will remove. And when we do, so just like that and like that. And another one we have here is another one we have actually is called the active. The active is very similar to the hover, very similar to the hover. Now we have another one called the focus. And the focus, we use the focus many a times is being used on an input. So we're going to be creating an input here of text, and we're going to be giving it a class of input. Come over here to give it space, and in here we are going to be removing this instead of btn. We won't be using btn because it won't apply, because focus is that you have to focus either a cursor or a mouse on it. So we're going to put in dot input, which is the name of the class for our input element. We'll come over here, we have something like this. Right, color blue. So we'll be changing all of this. This was made for our button, so we'll be changing all of this, and we'll be bringing this closer to our inputs so it will be affected. So when we're after changing the outline, or not outline, border to 1 pixel solid blue, and we'll be changing the background color to black, using black here, and we're going to be changing the color, that is the color of our text, in it to white. So in our preview we have a normal input, but when we tap on it to focus, we have something like this. As you can see, we are supposed to have a border of blue, but here is not actually a border we have here. We actually have an outline here, so we're going to come here and remove that outline so that we can be able to see our border in place. So if it's actually not a border, then means it's an outline. If not an outline, then means it's a border. These things are actually put in place so that for you to actually see what you're actually doing at default setting. So we're just going to come here and put place none, and when we come to our text, when we tap on it, as you can see, blue, 1 pixel blue. So these are things that the pseudo elements help us to do. We have the classes, the before and the after, which help us to place an element before and after, and we also have their classes. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment if you have a question. Thank you, and God bless you.